Welcome back to the channel, guys. What I'm going to be talking about today then is a Finnish M05 sleeping bag from Varusteleka. So then guys, it's January, it's pretty cold. You can probably see looking around me. There's a bit of frost on the ground. It's pretty chilly out at the moment here this winter. Now, a sleeping bag then, any kind of sleeping bag that you get, it needs to be able to perform in the conditions that you can't do, okay? So I've used this over in Alaska, over in, when was it, November in Alaska last year, 2024. I've also used this in the winter in the Brecon Beacons. In fact, just last week I used it in the Brecon Beacons where it was snowing, but the temperatures got down to about -5, and I was super toasty with this sleeping bag. But whatever sleeping bag you're going to use, you need to know, you need to have that confidence that it's going to keep you warm, so you can actually get some sleep when you're out in the wilderness. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the specifications of this sleeping bag, the functions and features of it, so showing you all the bits and pieces and the pros and cons of it, and then I'm going to talk about how I see it being best used. Specifications then. So weight of the bag first. This is always something I always look at whenever I'm looking at choosing a new sleeping bag. This weighs 2 kilos, which isn't lightweight, but we'll go into that more at the end of the video. That's just for the sleeping bag, and then as it is here with the compression bag with the liner, it's 2.6 kilos. Dimensions then, as you see it here from left to right, that's 32 centimeters with it compressed, and across the top then from there to there, that's 25 centimeters. Materials used, so the outer is made of polyamide, which it says on the website that it's waterproof. However, I'd be slightly cautious about that. I'd always use it with a bivy bag, and the actual filling of this is G-Loft Plus, which is a very, very efficient filling. It's a synthetic filling, which is obviously going to work well when it's damp as well. Unlike down that just goes completely to bits, this will still work in the wet. Temperature rating. So this is rated as a 3-season sleeping bag. However, it's rated as its lower temperatures, -15 degrees Celsius, which to me pretty much makes it a winter sleeping bag, apart from in those super cold countries, you know, the Nordic countries, which is about 5 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay, so what we're going to do next then is I'll get the bag out, we can have a look at it, and I'll show you the functions and features of the bag. Okay, before we get it out then, what I'm going to talk about is a compression bag. Now, I really like these compression bags because most compression bags just compress one dimension, as in squeezing it down. This one here then, this is made by Carinthia, and it compresses along the way too. What I find is when you compress it just this way, like the British Army bags and a lot of the other ones, to be honest, it ends up in a circular shape, like a big ball, like a big medicine ball. With these ones though, it compresses them along the way too, so then it becomes more tubular, and it makes it easier to fit into your rucksack. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to undo all those straps there, ready for getting it out. Okay, so the straps obviously go across the top there, and on the bottom end of the bag, what's nice is you've actually got just there, you've got a bit of webbing that comes up, so it's like a grab handle basically, so it's easier to pull out of your rucksack. So if you have got this packed in your rucksack like this, straight down, have it this way up, and you've got a handle that you can just drag it out with, because it can be quite awkward getting something like this out of your rucksack if it's in quite compressed, you know, if it's quite a tight fit. So quite a simple toggle on the top there, just opens up like so, and you've got a flap that goes over it. So this is where the magic begins. Check out that camouflage pattern there. Isn't that sexy shit, isn't it? Nice. Right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get this out. And what you've got there is the sleeping bag, and like I say, what you can see straight away is that nice camouflage pattern. You probably notice it, even though it's a little bit frosty on the ground, how well this blends in a forest environment. Okay, it's a fantastic camouflage pattern, and this type here is exclusively available only from Varusteleka. So if you want to get one of these in this beautiful camouflage pattern, Varusteleka is the place to go to, because standard one comes in an olive green. So what we're going to do then is have a look at the sleeping bag from head to toe. First thing I'm going to do then is I'm going to have a quick sweep across the sleeping bag. As I said, look at that amazing camouflage pattern, and there's an interesting feature at the end, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. So coming back up to the top end here then, what you've got is a nice big hood on the sleeping bag. Okay, so here's the head end with the liner, and we'll talk about that more in a second. But you've got a nice big head section here. Bear in mind that this is obviously made by the Finnish for their use for Finland, for their Finnish armed forces. So it's going to be serious protection from the elements, isn't it? So you've got quite a heavy duty zipper. Mine's unzipped at the moment because I've had it aired out from the last time I used it. But quite a heavy duty zipper. And then here is where you can see where the liner zips in as well. Okay, so you've got that liner in there. And what this is good for is if you are using this in like a military use, then this is going to get quite dirty, isn't it? Not so much at the top end here, well, maybe some camouflage cream or something. But as you go down into the sleeping bag, if you're getting in there with boots on, it's going to get quite mucky. And what this is going to do is it's going to prolong the life of your sleeping bag and make it easier to wash out. This zips in all the way through the top end as well, so there's no like flapping open bits. This zips in all the way along. You can see here the Carinthia label, so there's your sort of guarantee of the quality of this bag, because you know it's going to be good quality when it's made by Carinthia, made in Europe. And then you've got a little bit of information there about the materials used. So the shell's made of polyamide, and then there's the inner lining is also polyamide as well, and it's G-Loft. So the materials used in this is actually G-Loft Plus is the material used for the filling, which is a synthetic filler, which means it will still work if it got wet. Now it states on the website that this outer is waterproof. I would not like to test that. I'd always use this with a bivvy bag. However, you can tell that it's hard wearing that area. So you've got a good zipper there. Then you've got Velcro as well. Got Velcro panels going down to secure the flap across the zipper as well, to give you a little bit more protection. And as we go down the sleeping bag then, what we do is when we get to the bottom end, it's like that mummy shape, so it's wider at the top. It narrows slightly as you go in towards the foot end to help keep the warmth in. And then as you get to the end here, then what you've got is a spark protected foot box, which is quite interesting. So the idea is you could sit near a fire with this and warm your feet near the fire, obviously not too close but near the fire, and this is going to help protect the sleeping bag from sparks and stuff like that. So this is made out of Nomex, which is, as you'll probably know, is designed for protection against fire and flames. On the bottom of the sleeping bag here then, what you've got is two loops, so one there and one just there, so that they can be used to hang the sleeping bag up for drying after you've used it. So there's the sleeping bag there. Okay, so just to demonstrate packability of the sleeping bag, what I've got here is a CF2 rucksack from Crossfire. I've done a review on this, I'll put a link on the video for it. This is a 37 litre pack, okay? So what I've got is the M05 sleeping bag. I'm going to shove that in. And you can see that takes up kind of the majority of the main pack there. So I'll just show you inside. What I'm going to do though is I'm going to pack the rest of your shelter system. So I've got the this is actually from Varusteleka as well. This is their M05 Basher. that's in there. Then I've got, this is a roll mat from, it's a Thermarest one, an old one I've got. I've had that for years. That's gone in there, no problem. And then a bivvy bag, because generally I personally wouldn't use a sleeping bag without a bivvy bag if I'm under a basher. So you can see there then, that's pretty much taken up that entire main compartment there of the rucksack. So I'm just going to do that up, and you know, I can compress that down more, no problem. Not going to bother tidying away the straps just for the purposes of this. So that's the CF2 pack there. I've got items in the lid. I've got the side pouches free as well, so I've not got anything in there yet, so I could put them with food and stuff like that in there. I could quite easily fit something in the top of that main compartment as well, like a small bag with you know, like a warm jacket in or something like that. But you can see there then that you can carry it in a relatively compact rucksack. That's a 37 litre rucksack there without the side pouches. Okay, so just a demo there on packability of the sleeping bag. Next, what I'm going to talk about is pros and cons of the bag then. Pros then. So firstly, this is a very robust sleeping bag. You could use this in any conditions. Military use, you know, it's going to be used at night, so you can't really see what you're doing. You can't get torches out. Things always get roughed up a little bit in those kind of conditions. Getting in and out of it with boots on, because you can't take your boots off at night when you're serving in the military, you know, for obvious reasons. So it's going to get ragged around for military use especially. So the first one then is how robust the sleeping bag is. You can just tell it's built, you know, like it's bomb-proof basically. Secondly, the actual warmth of the sleeping bag. Again, I've used this in Alaska. I've used it in January in the Brecon Beacons, out in the field. And do you know what? Not cold at all. It was super toasty. So that's my second pro for it, is it's super toasty. Third one is that, mate, just that camouflage pattern. I'm just going to open it up a little bit here. And for me, if you're a bit of a pest when it comes to military kit, just, you know, just look at that camouflage pattern. To me, I love that. I think it just looks the part. So, you know, the third one is just, I don't know, pest value. I suppose you could call that. All right. Okay, cons then. Right, I've only really got two cons with this sleeping bag. First one is, just look at it. It is quite bulky. All right. It's not the smallest sleeping bag out there. However, you know, if you're going out in serious winter conditions, unless you take a down sleeping bag, a synthetic sleeping bag is always going to be relatively bulky. It's not going to be much smaller than this, if at all, for really cold conditions. Obviously, down does give you the benefit of having that lighter weight and smaller pack size, but you know, you've got to be very careful with it. If it gets wet, it's completely useless. Okay, so that's the first one, is the bulk. The second one is the weight. So this is not a light sleeping bag, okay? It's 2 kilos on its own. It's 2.6 with the liner and the compression bag. Now, to be honest, again, that's fairly standard. You know, the British Army sleeping bag that I used in the Arctic, one that you could use for the Arctic, that was 2 kilos as well. Last thing I'm going to cover then is how I see this thing being best used. And I've already mentioned it throughout the video. I think this is a great military sleeping bag, okay? Because it's built like a tank, because it's bomb-proof, this is going to stand up to all the harsh punishment and the conditions of using it in tough conditions, all right? So not just for the military, but for people out there that are going to be putting their kit through its paces, you know, long-term use, that sort of thing, not just out for one night. This is a great option, this thing here. And for the UK, I'd say this would be usable for pretty much any conditions other than right up the top, maybe north of Scotland in the very, you know, cold of the winter. Again, I've used this in Brecon in January and it was fine, you know. So most conditions in the UK, this will be fine for any time of year. I wouldn't say it's suitable for lightweight backpacking. definitely not, because it's, you know, you can get sleeping bags half that weight, maybe a little bit less, you know, made out of down. But I spoke about the pros and cons of down, okay? So the main bonus of the sleeping bag is the fact that it's built like a tank, very robust, and it's going to stand up to punishment, okay? So for military use or for something like bushcrafting, again, that Nomex foot section that you've got on the bottom is going to make it more, you know, usable for anywhere near a flame. Obviously, you don't want the top half anywhere near it, but you could warm your feet in really cold conditions sat around a bonfire. So that's my ideas of how this is best used, so military or bushcraft use. So then that is the Finnish M05 sleeping bag in that sexy M05 camouflage pattern by Carinthia, sold by Varusteleka. Has anyone else got one of these bad boys? Let me know in the comment section below what you think of it, pros and cons, how you found it. I think this is a great sleeping bag, especially for those that are going to put it through its paces a little bit. So thanks a lot for your support for the channel. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and as always, stay prepared.